So each mage in each guild gets their own title page and info to learn, but when it comes to Quattro Cerberus, well, unless you're Bacchus, you get the shaft. Also, they're no longer called Quattro Puppy now. Hey guys, LunarSpawn27 here, bringing you Fairy Tail Chapter 373, Life or Death. So the chapter begins with Natsu and Zeref reuniting inside Cube. Unfortunately, we don't learn a lot of information about Zeref. We know a little bit about Tartarus, but if you're expecting more info about Zeref or anything like that, yeah, don't get your hopes up. So Zeref tells Natsu that he was the one that created the demons in this guild. However, Zeref wasn't the one that created the guild itself. It was END, who did that. So Zeref created the demons, but END created the guild itself. Since End was the demon that Igneel was trying to kill but couldn't do so, Natsu declares that he will carry on Igneel's will, and he grabs onto that heat blade and tries to slash at Zeref, but at first it appeared that it went through him, but it actually just disintegrated when the blade came in contact with Zeref. Zeref tells Natsu that Igneel couldn't kill End because he was the most powerful of all the demons that Zeref created. But he did say that Natsu will soon face the very same decision, which is life or death. The choice is yours. Maybe he means like the life or death of his own life, or he might refer to every single human in the world or something. Not sure, but this is some foreshadowing of what's to come. Maybe once we get to see End itself. Unfortunately, that's all the information we actually know about Tartarus, and Zeref apparently was an illusion this whole time. At least I think he was. As he starts to fade away. But before he does, he tells Natsu that Tartarus was doing all this in order to meet him. And then he says one last time before he disappears, "When one finally arrives to me, will it be you or End?" So Tartarus and End are doing all this just so they can meet Zeref? If that's the case, then where the hell was Zeref? I mean, last time we saw him, he was in some sort of decaying forest with Mavis. Well, with Zeref now gone, the guards that Natsu beat were free from Galardo! And everything's back to normal. Meanwhile with Cube, Erza has reunited with the rest of the Fairy Tail Guild. She wondered what was going on, but Gray says that there was no time to explain. They have to go through the hole that Erza made to infiltrate Tartarus. Now all the Fairy Tail Guild members go through the hole, while Polyushka reminds them to bring the blood of the people with the magic barrier particles, so she can create an antidote to cure Laxus, Yajima, and the Raijinshu from that poison. But suddenly something snatches Erza and it turns out to be Kyouka. Thank God, because I was worried that she was going to be defeated so easily like that by Erza. But no, she's alive and kicking, and if we're lucky, we'll get to see her demon transformation. So Kyouka, with her outstretched claws, slams Erza onto the ground, and they begin to continue with their fight. Meanwhile, at the laboratory/chamber room, Lisanna reunites with Mirajane, who has her old clothes back on. I guess Tartarus kept their clothes, which means they still have Natsu's scarf. What did they even do with the prisoner's clothes anyway? Lisanna informed Mirajane on what happened so far, but they're interrupted by Seyla. She's really pissed off that even though Elfman succeeded in destroying the guild, not one single person was killed. Because of that, she felt embarrassed in front of Kyouka and blames Elfman for it, so she decides to take Lisanna as compensation, in exchange of ruining her reputation. But Mirajane is having none of that, and it looks like that she is gonna fight against Seyla. That is actually a fight I'm looking forward to seeing, and hopefully Seyla can actually do more than just manipulate or control living things. Considering her curse ability, maybe she can manipulate Lisanna to attack Mirajane, or use Lammy, who was unconscious on the floor, to attack both sisters, but at this point I really don't care about Lammy, so yeah. We cut back to Franmouth, who is inside the Grand Archive Chamber. According to him, Face appears somewhere other than where they had expected it to, so maybe Face is somewhere far away from Tartarus at this point. But before he can calculate even further, he hears somebody coming inside the room, and he decides to hide. It turns out that it's Wendy, Lucy, Happy, and Charle who have entered the room. So Fairy Tail split up apparently. So does this mean Franmouth is going to fight against these girls? No, he just stays there and hides, while Lucy and Wendy observe the Grand Archive. I mean, I know it's 2 against 1, but this guy was able to take on Natsu, so maybe he won't have a hard time against Lucy and Wendy? I don't know. So since they're aware that Face has been activated, according to the Grand Archive that they were observing, activation needs to be manually controlled on site. But then a message on the Grand Archive appeared saying that Face has already been activated. According to Franmouth, it was Ezel who was responsible for that. For those of you who don't know who Ezel was, he was the 4-armed spiky guy with the tentacle-like tails, the guy who had a huge desire to massacre people. Yeah, come to think of it, he hasn't actually appeared in this arc ever since that one chapter he appeared, along with that lizard man guy Torfusa and that monk. Come to think of it, what the hell were those 3 doing this whole time anyway? Okay, so Ezel was the one that had to go activate Face, but where are the other 2? So with Face activated, and like any other bomb, it also has a countdown. And from observing the countdown, Wendy says that Face will launch after 41 minutes. So Fairy Tail has 41 minutes until Face launches and wipes out all magic in the entire continent. So I guess all they have to do is actually find the location of Face, go there, and deactivate it. But before they could even figure out what to do next, another person walks into the room, and it turns out that it is the black priest monk guy named Keith. Yeah, in the first chapter he appeared, his name was Kisu, but it was apparently pronounced Keith. So Lucy and Wendy get scared because of Keith's appearance, and the chapter ends with Keith saying, "You maiden fairies who have fallen into Hades shall become corpses and drift away in purgatory." So yeah, that is Fairy Tail chapter 373. What did I think? Well, this was basically a setup chapter, but it was a pretty good setup chapter. Phase having a countdown. I'm not really surprised because most bombs always have a countdown, unless it was a type that it can detonate with a remote, or it's just an instant detonation. It doesn't seem to be the case for Phase, so this is obviously going to buy some time for Fairy Tail to try to deactivate it. Although I wish we got to see Ezel activate Face, because we haven't seen this guy ever since he first appeared when the Kyouka were introduced. Also, it would have given us at least a clue of where Face is. We know it's hidden in a big deep hole using a 4-pillared seal to seal it. I was a bit bummed that we didn't learn a little bit more about Zeref, but we do know that he is off somewhere in a far-off location, not sure where exactly. And at least we learn a little bit more about Tartarus and more about END, even if it was a little, because we know that END created Tartarus, and they are doing all of this just so that they can meet him wherever Zeref is. But there was one thing that he did say to Natsu before he disappeared: life or death. The choice is yours. Not sure what he meant by that, but he might refer to Natsu deciding about his own life or the life of everyone else. Maybe choosing one person to live and another to die, or choosing whether the person should live or die. I don't know, but it is foreshadowing of what's to come later once we get to see End, or END as Zeref said it. So I'm not really sure when we'll get to see Zeref again, but this chapter did set up 3 upcoming fights. The continuation of the Kyouka versus Erza fight, Mirajane and maybe Lisanna versus Seyla, and Lucy and Wendy versus Keith. Keith, I'm interested in seeing what he can do since he is called the Black Priest, and we haven't actually seen his curse ability. It might do something with what he was saying about purgatory, so maybe he's got something to do with that. But the one fight I am really looking forward to seeing is Mirajane versus Seyla. Mirajane will obviously win since because of that demon factor she obtained, it's going to give her like a power boost towards her Satan Soul ability. And with Seyla, her Order Curse ability allows her to manipulate bodies, living or dead, from the last time we saw her. So maybe she will either manipulate Lisanna to attack Mirajane or Lamy to attack both the sisters. If Lisanna is there, does this mean we'll get to see how much more she can do with that animal soul of hers? I hope so. And honestly, this was like the second time these sisters teamed up and fought against another opponent. Last time was during the Tenro Island arc. So, overall, despite this chapter being set up and foreshadowing of what's to come, it was a pretty good chapter. Now, next week's chapter is called Revolution. Not sure what that's going to be. Maybe maybe we'll get to focus on one of the fights. Not sure which one, but I think either the one with Keith or the one with Seyla. I'm hoping it's Keith because I don't know what his curse ability is and I want to know more about this guy. Although I don't know where the hell is Silver or Torafusa, but I am looking forward to next week's chapter. So yeah, that is Fairy Tail chapter 373. Tell me guys, what do you think of this week's chapter? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Despite it being a setup chapter, which fight are you looking forward to seeing the most? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video if you like it and subscribe to more videos. Also be sure to check out my Facebook fan page and Google+. So yeah, that's Fairy Tail chapter 373. I'm Lunar Spawn 27 and I will see you guys later. Bye.